We are so blessed and honored today because we have someone that's I just love her and what she does. She really motivates me. Dr. Martina Moore
Thank you.
and her husband Brian Moore. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
you.
for coming. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, we want to talk about what it is that you do.
Okay, what it is that we do.
Yes.
Well, one of the components, my husband and I own Moore Counseling and Mediation Services. We're an outpatient substance use disorder and mental health facility with 7 locations in Ohio and 1 in Florida. And we provide outpatient mental health and substance use services to an array of people within the community.
Awesome.
Okay. And one in Florida.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you guys are really branching out.
We are.
We are?
We are.
That
Yes,
is
we are.
awesome.
Yes.
So how did you get involved into doing what you do,
Yeah.
Dr. Moore?
So we will be in business 20 years in next October. It'll be 20 years. Prior to that, I was the director of Laurelwood Hospital and Counseling Centers for 10 years, where I oversaw their dual diagnosis services there. And I was completing my master's program then and working on helping people build dual diagnosis programs. Dual diagnosis are people who have mental health and substance use disorders. And so that's really something that I specialize in because over 70% of the population now hold both diagnoses. Yeah. So that's how I got into it. My husband at the time was in business. He was working in finance. And we decided to, well, actually he decided that it was time for us to start our own business. So together, we quit our jobs and we started our business, and it's been history ever since.
So
All right,
what
so-
made you think it's time to start?
Okay, so as she was a director at Laurelwood, she would often come home and talk about her day and talk about things that were going on. And there was a different spin that we thought we could put on the whole mental health and substance abuse piece. She was passionate about it. I had enough business savvy to understand that there was a niche involved. So we sat down and decided we were going to do something a little different, less corporate, not quite Christian, but a blend of the two. So I said, hey, this is what we need to do. So I found a space. I decided to eventually leave my job while she kept her job. I started building the business and she paid the bills. Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, as my husband said, we are Christians, but we are not we are a licensed treatment center.
Yes.
Which is much different than Christian people that consider themselves. We're Christians that are licensed counselors.
Right.
Okay.
And so when you come to us, it is a facility. You have to at least have a master's degree in order to provide services. So we have
Right.
over 90 staff. Out of that 90, about 40 of them are licensed counselors that provide counseling on an outpatient basis. So that's the difference with us and some other treatment centers, and is that we are all Christians, and not everybody that works for us. There's a few that work for us that are not Christians, but the majority of our staff are Christians. But we all come from a license and clinical perspective
Perspective.
when we're treating.
Excellent.
Yes.
So does that make a difference by being Christian?
Well, there are some counseling centers that are certified Christian counseling centers that you don't necessarily have to have a master's degree.
Or the
And-
clinical
or
part.
you don't have
Right.
the clinical portion. You don't have the psychiatry. You may not have the medications. We have a full clinic and all of that, which makes a difference.
Okay.
We diagnose, we treat. They may see our doctor. They may receive medications. So we do the whole gamut when it comes to being licensed counselors. So that's what makes the difference.
Awesome.
But there is a spiritual component to the services that we provide.
As well.
And that's well
Yes.
needed.
Yes,
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 very well
yes.
needed. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you guys subcontracted to like the county or other state government, state facilities or federal government subcontract out to?
So we have 4 lines to our business. Our one line is our outpatient substance use disorder, and in that line we treat people with insurance, and we are the provider for many specialized dockets in Cleveland, including the Cleveland Drug Court. We have a human trafficking court, a mental health court,
Right.
a mental health court, and
Veterans.
a veterans court that we provide services for. And then we also have our EAP, our Employee Assistance Division. And in that one, we are EAPs for corporate agencies, such as Cuyahoga County is one of our contracts. as well as we have others. We have cities, we have municipalities, organizations in the state of Ohio as well as in Florida. In Florida, primarily, we do EAP and organizational development, which is another line of our business. Organizational development is we work with companies to help them to complete strategic planning and training, corporate training for managers. Managers may be struggling in different areas, so we work with them in order to build their skills. That's one of the areas that I got my PhD in, is in consultation to agencies and organizational development. So we have a whole department of organizational development.
Awesome. This is also, like you say, helping managers maybe get to a certain place in their managerial
Exactly.
skills and things
Exactly.
like that.
Yep, to build their skills. Or if they're struggling,
Right.
then we help to put together a performance improvement plan to help them if they're struggling to build their skills. Yes.
Ah, this is a lot.
It is.
It really is.
It
So
is.
therefore, like, is the services available? So if you were an employer, and some employees, they have where their workers are addicted to drugs and they need that help, and they can come there without
Exactly.
having their job being affected.
Exactly. It's all confidential.
Uh-huh.
We encourage people to come on their own and get the help that they need. They don't have to pay for it because the company already pays for it. The company doesn't even know who shows up. Due to HIPAA, we have to keep it all confidential. So it is a confidential service that we provide, and it's good for employees. They may be struggling with marriage or raising their children or finances, whatever the case. We can provide that service for them so that their employment is not impacted to the point that their performance is impacted, and they may begin to get corrective action. Our goal is to decrease that so that we deal with those issues before it affects the workplace.
Excellent.
Yes.
So you say you've been doing this for 20 years. You started out 20
Yes.
years. When you first started out, to get to this point, how did you do it?
So we started out in a very small office. It was just my husband and I, about as big as this room. We were in with the two of us, and I was seeing a few clients. I was still working at the hospital, and I was seeing a few clients on evenings and weekends. And we were doing trainings. We started out doing trainings all over the state. So between my job and between his job, we would do trainings.
Where would we do trainings?
All over the state of Ohio, everywhere. We would do them everywhere. We jump in our little car and we go everywhere and do trainings.
Wow.
And so our training center was the piece that grew first, was the
Right.
trainings, because we went all over doing trainings. And then from that it grew. We went from the one small office, and then we started another office in Euclid. And then we've just grown from there. Yes.
Awesome.
With this opiate crisis that's going across our nation, is how you guys working
Yeah.
or been in part of that?
Yeah. So we treat a lot of people with opioid use disorders. Last year we received a grant for myself and two of our other staff members to go across the state and provide training for professionals on medication-assisted treatment. So we were one of the first in Northeast Ohio to provide outpatient medication-assisted treatment for opioid users. So what is that? We provide what's called Vivitrol, which is naltrexone, which is a 30-day injection for people on opiates. And if they get the injection, they don't have any cravings. They don't have any withdrawal once they are on it. And it decreases their desire to use opiates. And it gives us a chance to give them treatment. The average person is on that for about 18 months to 2 years while they're receiving treatment, case management services, and we're helping them to rebuild their lives. And we've seen a lot of success with that. But beyond that, we also had to open recovery homes for them. So we also have 3 recovery homes that we own as well. And those recovery homes, they live in the recovery homes while they're learning to stay sober. And then we also started an employment program for them because many people didn't want to hire them.
Right.
Finding out that many of them have backgrounds, they may have a felony or a misdemeanor.
Right.
They may even disclose that they have a drug or alcohol problem and that they're recovering. And so we had to get them ready and work with employers that would hire them, considering their background.
Okay.
And so that's
So
the
this
other
is even
piece.
with people that you work through, the different corporations and government who come to you guys so they don't get their job and they have an opiate problem.
The medication assisted treatment, yes. Anybody could be eligible for that if they have an opiate use disorder or an alcohol disorder too. It's also used for alcohol as well. But mainly we're hearing about it for opiates. We probably treat about 500 people a week for opiate use disorder, be it medication assisted treatment or behavioral therapy.
So
Yes.
Ohio and Florida are like ground zero for both that issue.
Yeah, they are, especially Ohio. Ohio was number 2 in the
Wow.
nation for accidental overdoses. So we do lots of trainings on naloxone, which is Narcan, which is the antidote to revive people from
Right.
it. So we do trainings on that, and we provide that to patients as needed. We've had patients overdose right in our office, right in our parking lot.
Really?
Yeah, all the time we have to be prepared. All of our staff is prepared to administer naloxone from the front door to the back door. Everybody knows how to do it. We have to because it's quick
Right.
what happens. You
Right.
have to
Right.
quickly administer in an attempt to save lives. And so that's what our goal is, always trying to save their lives.
Have you seen any kind of diminishing in it in Ohio?
In any type of what?
Like diminishing of the use in Ohio?
We've seen the statistics are showing we're seeing a decrease in overdoses,
Correct.
but we don't know if that is because of the work that we're doing with naloxone, because we're giving it to the patients too.
Okay.
So many times they will give it to each other,
All right.
and they don't report
So
to the police, and you never know.
So you don't know if the increase of the use
Exactly.
has that decrease,
Exactly.
but the overdose.
But it's good that we're having a decrease in overdoses.
True.
But what we're thinking it's because the naloxone is being distributed more and more.
More people are more knowledgeable.
Right. And you made me think about another program that we have with the police with Lyndhurst.
Yes.
We have it with it's called Safe Passages program, and it's a program with Euclid, Lyndhurst, Mayfield Village, Richmond, and there's a couple other cities involved in it, where someone can walk in and say, "I have a problem," and they
Okay.
will not arrest them. They will contact us as the treatment center. Within 2 hours, we have a counselor go out, we do an assessment, and we get them in treatment. So people can come on their own. If there is an overdose on site, they can also contact us. Let's say the EMS responds to a home,
Okay.
then they can call us to go, and we can try to do an intervention and get them to come to treatment as well.
See, may I ask a question?
Sure.
What's the difference between the crack cocaine epidemic and this opioid epidemic, where now everyone is concerned about
Yes.
opioid, but when people
Yes.
were on crack and heroin, it was criminal.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do agree. So
go.
we have learned, our judicial system has learned, and our medical system has learned that it's all a disease, and that we cannot arrest our way out of this. That we have to treat it as a medical condition, unfortunately. And I speak about it all the time. That when crack cocaine was on the rise, we put everybody in jail. We put everybody in
Yeah,
prison.
yeah.
We still have people in prison to this day because of crack cocaine. But we now realize that that wasn't the answer. We spent a lot of money on people in federal prisons, and we did not rehabilitate them.
Right.
And that was the problem. So now we understand, and we've learned something different because we understand the brain chemistry when it comes to addiction, and that it is a medical disease. The research supports it, treatment supports it. We are now all coming to the table because we are seeing more and more people dying, younger people. We're seeing all walks of life. Our average person that we get in is about 27, 28 years old, Caucasian, that we get in for opiates, although it is in the African American community
and Hispanic as well,
and the Hispanic
Yeah.
community as well.
and Asian.
So to answer your question, that is what we're seeing. Now, I am saying, and I'm telling people this, crack cocaine is back on the rise.
Oh,
It is
really?
back on the rise.
It's cheaper.
And I just don't want us to get so caught up that we miss that. And so
Okay.
I've been speaking about that and saying we have to be aware and begin our interventions now, because imagine if crack hits like it did in the 80s and 90s and we have this heroin epidemic at the same time.
Oh my God.
We will be devastated if that
Yes.
takes place.
It was so interesting. I was watching a show, and the show sort of reminded me something my father said. My father had said, this country has always had a drug problem.
Always.
From the very beginning. He mentioned, like Wild Wild West. You know why it was called Wild Wild West? It wasn't called Wild Wild West because people were going around shooting each other. Pretty much people were high constantly all the time.
Yes.
I mean, you have opiates, you had opium, you have cocaine. People forget that in the Civil War, both sides gave soldiers cocaine to make them be able to stand there and get shot at because you're in a line, and they gave them big, huge capsules, about 150 milligrams each, they had to take every day. So you had a lot of veterans after the Civil War that were addicted to cocaine. Eventually, that led to opium, and of course, the PTSD issue, which they didn't know those days. Well, I think they did, but they just ignored it. But because they called it shell shock and
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
You know, but he was saying how we all have a history, and it was so, you know, this country had a history of it. And the show, it was so funny. They had a horse medicine that both horses and people could take. And it was made out of cannabis oil. It was made from 1860. They found, and there was still some in there. And I'm like, cannabis? And then my father used to tell me how he used to have to go and get laudanum for his mother, you know, for her cycle. But that's pure. That's an opiate. That's pure opiate.
Yeah, opiates have been around for a very long time. You're absolutely correct. They've been used in every war. They're still being used now.
Yes.
One of the things that we talk about now is we are not seeing that much heroin on the street anymore. We're seeing
Okay.
fentanyl. That's what we're seeing.
Right.
And that's what's being sold.
Which is that.
So now, what's the
fentanyl
difference
is a
between
chemical.
fentanyl
Right.
and
Fentanyl
heroin?
is a synthetic opiate that is made, as well as carfentanil. Fentanyl is 100 times more potent than heroin. And then there's carfentanil, which is 2,500 times more potent. The difference is heroin has to be grown and harvested, and then it needs to get here safely,
Okay.
which is much easier to go into a lab and to make it in the synthetic and sell it and bring it
ship
here
it.
and ship it right in here. And it's being shipped right through the U.S. Post Office from China that we're seeing it. So on the streets, when we're testing, and the DEA will tell you this, when they're testing, we see very little heroin anymore. The drug dealers are selling fentanyl, and that's what we're seeing.
Oh, it's cheaper.
It's cheaper. It's more potent. The problem is that all opiates are central nervous system depressants, so it depresses the central nervous system even faster and more, and that's why it takes more of the Narcan for us to give to them in order to try to revive them.
Wow.
I've had patients where we've had to give 4, 5, 6 hits before they're revived, and we know right then and there they're on fentanyl. They're not on heroin. The other part with the fentanyl is that they're lacing other drugs with it now as well, like cocaine. We've heard a few stories about marijuana as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, and most people don't know. I mean, you
So
don't
they're
ask
putting
your
it in marijuana.
Or they're
instead.
lacing it
They're
in
lacing it with that.
marijuana,
They're-
they're putting
yeah.
it in the cocaine, they're cutting it with that
Right,
to give
with
it
that.
a little extra pop.
Exactly.
So you don't get, excuse me, you don't get as much cocaine as you should get.
Right.
So they're
Right.
putting fentanyl in instead, and you know how they cut. And so
Yeah, to make the
you won't
cells a
notice
bit
that the
more-
cocaine is not, you're not getting your money's worth because you got that pop.
You got that
That
high.
is that high.
You got that high. And
But it's dangerous.
it is
very
it's very
dangerous.
dangerous. And
So you're just dancing with death.
oh, you do. You have people
Pretty much.
You have people overdosing and they don't know why. They're
having mental collapses.
Exactly, and they don't know
Right.
why. And I always tell my patients, I say, your dope dealer's not your friend. He's not giving you a menu and
No.
saying this is what's in this. How would you like this? He's selling you what's best for him.
That strengthen out his profit
Exactly.
as long as
Right.
possible.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow.
And
So-
that's unfortunately, you know, the name of the game, but it's, you know, I guess that's the reason why you should be taking it.
that is the reason. And unfortunately, people are addicted to it. The thing with opiates is they're physically addictive. So many people started out with prescription pills. I mean, that's how we got to this epidemic was
Okay.
the pill mills and the problems that we had in Scioto County in Ohio with all the pill mills there. We shut down the pill mills. Our governor and the task force shut down the pill mills in 2000. And then from that, we had all of these people that were on opiates
opiates.
and they were on pills. And they started to withdraw because it's physically addictive. So the body started to withdraw. And so the Mexican cartel knew what was going on and they came right in and set up selling heroin just like a pizza delivery shop. And they would deliver at your door. And there's many, many movies out now about it and stories. If you ever read the book by Sam Kionis,
Yeah.
called Dreamland. It shows you very well what happened here in Ohio. We were primed for that. At the same time, we had the horrible piece that took place with all of our factories being shut down. Many of our motors groups, people were out of insurance. They couldn't get their medications anymore.
They were in pain.
They were in pain, so that was happening. And then we have one of the best highway systems in the United States.
Well,
and
we're
so,
central.
right, so it was easy for them to distribute within our system. And so we were set up, we call it the perfect storm. We were set up for the perfect storm.
The one thing I always thought was kind of what they missed out on all that is our war in Afghanistan.
Yes, that was a big
Because
piece with it
that
too.
is 80%
Yep.
of where heroin,
Yes.
opiates come from.
Yeah.
That's where, you know, grown.
Yeah.
So with that war, you're getting that stuff that
Yep.
cartels could pick up, you know, instead of going to all the loops that it had to go through before, where they cut, it was coming straight, straight and nonstop. Yeah, through service members as well, because when you're in the military, you do take things. This happened. I was in the military. You know, you a souvenir here and there. But then at home, you know, especially if you have a family, depending if you're unlisted, your pay does not cover a lot of things. Your house might be in foreclosure.
Right.
There's a quick way to make a lot of money real quick and take care of things real fast. Because they do now check. They don't allow you to take like guns and things like that you used to do back in the day. Like when my father was in Korea and Vietnam, they brought a whole bunch of stuff over. You know, we couldn't. I couldn't do that in the '90s.
Right.
You know, couldn't bring over a gun or something like that.
Right.
They would be like, you know,
Right.
he had duffel bags of stuff.
Wow.
But they do that instead. You know, and things like that. And,
So the guys are in the service. A lot of them, they are already addicted. So when they come out,
some of them are. A lot
Some of them are. Some of them are due to injuries.
Yeah.
Some of them are.
This is the most injurious war that we have ever been in, where they took a page out of our book, and it's not to kill an active soldier, it's to make you a drain on the society, and to make what do they call it, inoperable, missing an arm
Yes,
or a leg,
yes.
and things like that, to make you a drain on the society's economy. Which was one of the technical things that we used to do coming out of the Civil War that became the maximum for the American military.
Right.
Don't want to kill you. We want to make you a drain on the economy, which makes the war end faster.
That's very true. Yeah.
You know, now also too, I just want to be sure we acknowledge something here. Mr. Brian Moore is
Councilman.
city councilman
Yes, sir.
for the city of Euclid.
Yes, I
I'm
am.
wearing so many hats.
yeah,
How do you guys do all of this?
it's amazing.
It is. It really is.
We can only do it through the team that we have. The people that we have surrounded ourselves with are very good to us and very good to our mission. So they help out. I could not do this by myself. I could not do this without my wife and both of our assistants and the team that we have at Moore Counseling. They allowed me to run for office because my presence is not there as much as it used to be. So they also had to step up in order for me to do this.
It's a testament of the growth.
Yeah.
It is.
It has grown. We went, I laugh some days. I walk in the office or one of our offices and I don't know the staff. And that's hard. Coming from when it was just the two of us to now I'll walk in and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. I would like to meet you. So that is difficult because we don't always get to all of our offices now
Right.
either. So we have offices for our west side as well as east side. So
So where are the locations exactly? Are on the
so
east
we have
and west?
we have Euclid, which is our main location, our administrative office, and then we have 3 offices in downtown Cleveland, and then we have one in Elyria, and one in Rocky River, and one in Akron, and we have an office in Florida in the Fort Lauderdale area. We have an
West
office
Palm
there.
Beach.
West Palm Beach. Yes.
I know at the engagement that I attended a few months back, I know you were speaking about going overseas. Would you like to give
Y'all
us
doing the
a-
office overseas
Yeah,
now?
no, we're not doing that.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a controversy.
Okay.
Let me just say. Oh, go ahead.
No, well, so
Y'all
I'm
branching out globally
No,
now.
So I'm also on faculty at John Carroll University,
Awesome.
and so I teach in their mental health counseling program, and I oversee their substance use disorder concentration. So last year, they sent me to Vietnam. My husband and I had a chance to go, and I had a chance to teach there on substance use disorders. And it was really unheard of because I don't know if you're familiar with Vietnam. You probably are, being in the military.
I remember.
And so
Vietnam War.
they are still, I would call them a little communistic, just a little, even in their ways, but they're progressive. They're very
they are.
progressive
They are.
now. And so they were very eager. They don't have substance use disorder treatment centers. If you have a substance use disorder, you go to the hospital, but you're expected quickly to turn things around,
Right.
or you could end up in prison.
On your own.
On your own.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like us, but they're looking now for different ways. So we will be traveling back this year. The end of July, I'm going to be teaching again at their university and then doing some workshops. And so it was a great opportunity for us to go there. I have to tell you, at first I didn't want to go. Just because I'm a little different when it comes to travel.
Well,
I'm like
and
a-
your father was in the war.
Yeah, my
and
father
there
was in
some,
Vietnam War. And he didn't really want me to go, but I researched it, and my husband kept saying it's going to be safe for us, and so it was very safe. I actually enjoyed it immensely.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to
Honestly,
going back.
It's a wonderful country.
Yeah, it is wonderful. It's
beautiful
very
country.
progressive. The food was very good. The people were very nice, very welcoming. I had my own interpreter who was with me the entire time,
Okay.
and he interpreted in my classes and everything for me, so that was good. But it's just a different experience. They really appreciate education there.
So they were soaking it out.
Oh my God!
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
just on the edge of their
Oh,
seat.
yes.
I mean, it makes you want to teach. I mean, here in my class, where I have to tell my students, get off your phone, put your laptop down,
Right.
pay attention. You
Right.
should have got that. And these students are just all into it. And so it was just a great opportunity. So I'm looking forward to this year. You want to add something to that?
So there could be an opportunity for us to expand
Yes.
our services overseas. Again, with Martina teaching over there, we're understanding they don't have what we have. So there's a void that could be filled.
It's a huge void.
There's a
It
huge
is.
void. I'm not
It
saying
is.
we're the greatest, but I am saying that we do have the passion. And since John Carroll is sending her to teach, there may be an opportunity for us to do some business over there as well.
Yeah.
It's a huge void because you got to think, especially Laos, Vietnam, and Cambodia.
Yes.
They're really coming out.
Yes.
They're finally coming out of that shadow of the Vietnam
Finally.
War.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And reaching and trying to get their people, come together. So there's a lot of that they need.
Yeah. 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 We also support Africa. I've been to Tanzania.
Okay.
And in Tanzania, we opened a dispensary. There was a village there that, when I got there,
I told you.
they were having babies in the bush. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, it was like something in the movies.
Okay.
Like, I could not believe it. I was just, I was blown away to really see this. And so the priest that was there, he said, I just need money to open the dispensary. They have the infrastructure. And so I said, I'll get the money. And so I came back home. We talked about it, and we've been raising the money. They are now open. They sent us lots of pictures. We communicate well. What I decided to do is not go back every year, but to send the money that I would spend for me to go, because they
Okay.
need that money.
Right.
Rather than me spending $1,700 on a plane ticket.
Right.
If I sent them $1,700, they can do a
They do
lot with that
more,
money.
a lot,
They can do a
lot.
lot more. But they do want me to come back because they want to honor us, because they believe in honoring. So I am going to go back. We are going to go back. I keep telling them,
Okay.
because he didn't go with me to Tanzania. I said,
Okay.
we're going back next
It
time.
was not on my list of places to go.
but we are going to go
Wow.
back.
The bugs?
They eat.
The bugs, the heat, the
Yeah,
monkeys.
there's some, the monkeys.
Yes.
The monkeys.
You and your friend, the monkey.
The monkeys and all of that, but very, very nice people.
Oh, you had
Okay.
a friend that followed you around?
Oh, I did.
Beside
I was
the
at my
interpreter?
window and just, I said, I said,
Banana, please.
like, give me that food. I'm like, I really don't like you, monkey. So that's what we're doing overseas right now. And looking to see what's next. But
Right.
we'll be back in Vietnam in a couple of weeks, actually. So,
Wow.
yes.
This
Okay,
is just
that's
so.
during the hot season, right?
Yeah. Oh, right now it's hot.
It's a little warm,
Yeah,
but
it's hot.
It is an amazing adventure. You can talk about it, but until you've seen it, it's incredible. The
And all
amount
the
of people in these concentrated areas was amazing.
Yeah.
But then I also had a chance to go out sort of in the countryside, where it's less populated and it's more typical of what you think Vietnam is. It's a beautiful country. It really is.
It is. We are actually, myself and one of our other professors who leads this project, Dr. Nathan Gellert, we're taking some students this time also with us. And this is going to be an adventure for them. So
Yes.
we'll see how that goes.
So would you say their eating habits are more healthier than ours?
Oh,
I mean, because
Well-
we're so processed here.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah. No, you didn't see any of the processed food. Everything was fresh.
Everything was fresh.
We have the great story. We were at a resort that we went to after I was done teaching, and they go right in the ocean and they catch what you want. So you say you want lobster, you want shrimp, and they have these
Yes.
huge prongs. Everything is fresh. The seafood is fresh, and I don't eat meat, so it was really good to have the seafood. I eat seafood.
right.
It was excellent. I mean, the best food.
Best food.
He loved it. He's a
Oh, yeah.
food lover, so
Yeah.
we really love the food there. Lots of fresh soups. believe it or not, in 90-degree weather, you drink these soups that are just so good, and you don't feel as hot. So it's just hard to explain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's something to put on my bucket list.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you know, when you watch TV and you look at movies, you have that fear.
You don't watch animal shows though.
But I love the animal shows. I watch them every Saturday.
okay.
You know, because I learn a lot. You know,
Yeah.
but
About the Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. The Animal Kingdom.
So the interesting thing about that is, you know, being in America, we have an American perspective on everything. We are taught that America is the greatest country, and although we are a great country, every
We're
country,
not the only one.
every country, every area has its own thing,
Right.
and sometimes we have a skewed point of view. Let's just say that. So our eyes were opened in Vietnam. I think we expected to find a lot more racism in Vietnam. We were accepted just like anything else. I think the only thing that made us stand out was the fact that we might have been a few inches taller. That really was about it. But other than that, you know, you could walk up to any person and try to communicate.
Right.
We try.
And
We
they will
try.
actually try to.
Oh, they will.
lie to
They were
you.
very
Try to-
happy.
Well, a lot of them know some English.
Yes,
Well,
which
yeah,
is
because
many
of the
Yeah.
70s and the
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah.
You know, that was the one thing I think I got out of service is going to different places and different countries, and exactly like you said, you're going to realize that every country has its greatness.
Oh, yeah.
Every nation has its greatness.
It does.
Every bit, every inch, and not everyone. Well, I guess that comes down to we're all equal. You know, bottom
Yep.
line.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah,
everyone
we're
has
all
their own
God's
particular.
people, you
Thank
know.
you.
We are.
We
We
are
are.
God's
And that
people.
means all over the world.
Yes, Larry.
You know, there's been a few suicides that have occurred, famous people. One of my favorites was a CNN anchor, Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, I
Yeah.
just read that
Anthony
yesterday.
Bourdain, yeah.
Was that a suicide? I don't
Yes,
think that
it
was
was.
declared
Yeah,
yet.
yeah,
Right?
he hung
Yeah.
himself.
It was a suicide.
He hung himself?
Yeah, he
Yes,
hung
he hung
himself in his
himself.
hotel room.
Yes.
And as well as the famous lady that
Fashion
designs
designer.
clothes.
Kate Spade.
Yeah. What is it that is a common denominator? What do you see repeatedly in those type of instances?
Yeah.
Was it double abuse, maybe? Like that double you were talking about
Oh, dual
earlier?
diagnosis.
diagnosis.
It could be that, but not always. I will say with Anthony Bourdain, I was really saddened, but I wasn't surprised. My husband and I love his show, but if you
Yes.
ever watched his show, and this is not to criticize him, you could see the addiction. You could see the addiction with Anthony Bourdain.
Now I was
He was
blind to that.
no,
I guess
Anthony
maybe because I
Bourdain was
into
constantly
the
high and
travels
drunk on
and
his
stuff.
show.
On the show.
When-
Yeah.
there
Oh,
were
yeah.
episodes where he
It was obvious.
where
He
he
Well,
smoked
let me-
marijuana.
Yeah, he drank through the
So
whole show.
before
Well-
CNN, he was on Travel Channel with
Yes.
No Reservations.
Yes.
Right.
So he had a little bit more freedom,
there
I
was
think,
no
in that show.
reservations.
Yeah, it was no
No
reservations. There was
Yeah.
constant drinking.
Yeah.
He often talked about his past, which was heroin and cocaine in the
Yeah.
restaurant business.
Yeah.
So there was some of that addiction already present in his life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they toned it down for the CNN shows, but the alcohol was always there.
Yeah.
I remember one show in which he was in Thailand, and
He was
they actually
bastard.
showed him smoking marijuana, and he was messed up. So again, that's not necessarily the cause, or
Right.
but
And
many
then he
times.
got away with smoking that in Thailand,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
It's amazing because
Yeah.
it is against the law.
Yeah.
And their prison system, from personal experience, is not the best in the world. Let's just say
Yeah.
they're one step above Turkey, which is hell.
Wow.
But
So that he got away with that tells
Yeah.
you that he had a lot of pull. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you could tell he was.
so are you saying that drugs is a common thing that leads to this
No,
type
I
of-
won't say that with everyone.
Right.
It is a factor.
Okay.
But there is a level of darkness that we see.
Darkness. Okay.
There's a level of heaviness, if you want to call it. Some isolation. And I think about people like him and Kate Spade. It's so hard for them because when you're in that place, the higher you are, the harder it is to get help.
Right.
And people say, oh, you have all these people around you. Well, most of the time, everybody around you is pulling on you.
Right.
And they want something for you. And they're expecting something of you because of who you are.
Right.
And I tell people, I don't care who you are, you need to stay in therapy, especially when we get to this certain level. I'll use myself for an example. I stay in therapy. I have to go, and I'll just self-disclose, I have to go all the way to Florida for a therapist. Because I can't see anybody here in Ohio because everybody knows me.
Okay.
And so I have to go there to get therapy. But I have to get the help that I need. It's not always that easy for people who are that high up.
Right.
But all of us need help. We all do. We all constantly have things pulling on us and people pulling on us. And for many of us in the church, we've learned, just pray about it.
And leave it
It's
at
going to
the
be
altar.
okay. You got to do
Right.
this, you have to do that. And yeah, prayer is a great part of it, but we have to pray and work at it too.
Right.
And part of those works is getting the treatment that we need, maybe for a season taking some medication. One of the most frustrating parts that I hear is when pastors and other leaders tell people they don't need medications. Just like we need our medications for our hypertension and our diabetes and whatever other medical condition, we may need it for our mental health condition.
Wow.
That's
That's good.
powerful what you just said.
Wow, it really is.
And I hope everybody out there is listening, which is going before when I walked in. You guys were talking about Kevin Love and you know the importance of
Coming out.
Speak
more
out.
than coming,
Yes,
but
coming
saying
out.
that mental illness is an illness.
It
is.
It's
Yes.
not a passing
is.
fancy.
Right.
It
It's not
is.
something you can fix on your own.
Right.
And it's very important. It's pointing out that you know, as Christians, you can leave it at the altar,
Yeah.
but you got to do the works.
You have to do
part.
the work.
Right.
As Chris said, you know,
Exactly.
bread alone. You got to
Right.
you got to do
Right.
works
Two
as
go
well.
together.
Exactly.
And that is key.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
key because that I think with most Christians, we think we somehow put mental situations and cooperate it with spiritual,
Yeah.
and not understanding they're separate.
And that's a great point, and we stigmatize it. And so we make people think that there's something wrong with me for having this.
Correct.
Well, I'm going to give you an example. We don't tell people that probably that type 2 diabetes you have is a problem if you will push back away from the table and eat differently and exercise.
Right.
But we don't tell people that. So we don't stigmatize that. But we stigmatize when people have mental health issues, which really is a chemical imbalance in the brain.
Right.
People have a chemical imbalance, and on top of that chemical imbalance, you have life stressors
Yes.
that
Right.
combats it. And so it is important. And not everybody has depression, but the average person has had either a small bout of it, a mild bout, but then there are people that have serious depression. And as Mr. James was asking, he was saying, well, what does that look like? It could look like a person for periods of time, months, maybe even weeks, feeling like they don't want to wake up, feeling hopeless, feeling like they don't want to be around other people. Their appetite may be low.
You just shut down.
They may,
Right.
or they may keep going through the movement, through the motions, but really inside they're screaming and feeling like I really don't want to do this.
Right.
And people say, well, why didn't they say anything to anybody? Sometimes they're waiting for someone to say something to them. Sometimes they don't know how to say something
Right.
to someone because it's such a place of darkness. And so I was reading on Facebook, all the little things that people were saying. I said, that all sounds well and good. But unless you're there, you
Right.
just don't know.
Right.
The best way to help a person is to ask people, have you dealt with depression? Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling like I have no problem now with asking somebody if they're suicidal. I want to know because I know it's real. Have you been feeling like you want to harm yourself? We cannot rule out anyone.
Right.
There was a recent study out about pastors completing suicide, being one of the highest numbers.
A lot of stress.
A lot of
Because
stress,
under
but
pressures.
yeah, they take it, but then there's no outlet for them. And then everybody looks
Right,
at them and
'cause they're
says,
supposed to
you're,
be the outlet.
You're supposed to
Right.
be the outlet. Well, just like for me as a counselor, I'm supposed to be the outlet. So I have to take care of myself
Right.
so that I can be healthy for everyone else.
Right.
And so that's why it's important to do that.
Wow. Does that go ahead.
So here's the thing, as a pastor myself, the spiritual warfare
Yeah.
and the mental depressions and things of that nature where's the fine line in all of that? Where do you determine, okay, this is a spiritual issue
And this is a
versus
mental.
this is a mental issue? How do you determine that?
So I don't necessarily tell people to try to determine that. I tell them to treat them both as though they both exist.
Right.
And if you do that, because with anyone, even if they're having a mental health disorder, they need spiritual care.
Yes.
And even if someone's having a spiritual disorder, they still need mental health care. Both of them have to go hand in hand.
Right.
And so I say, if they go to the altar and you lay hands on them and it all come out, send them to somebody after that to help it stay out.
Right.
That's what you do. And to help them to do what they need to do there.
Right.
That's where, and if
And
somebody,
to keep it out.
and to keep it out.
Right. You got to work at it.
Yeah,
Steps.
yeah. So it
It's a
doesn't.
process.
Right.
It's
It's
a
a
process.
process.
Thank you. It's a
And
process.
you keep it so you treat them both as though they both coexist because they really do.
Right.
And we even know that in the mental health field now, we're required to provide spiritual counseling for our clients. So if the doctors know that and the physicians know that, we know that should go hand in hand. But the problem is the church doesn't know it should go hand in
Hand
hand.
in hand.
And so we can't
the
understand.
mosque or the
right,
synagogue,
right.
right.
We can't understand why people keep coming back to the altar, well, it needs to go hand in hand. That's
Wow.
why.
Yeah.
That's the important piece to it.
That's good stuff.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
Really
that
good
is,
stuff.
Yeah,
that is enlightening.
That's why you're so blessed.
Oh, thank you.
You guys
Thank
are really blessed because that is the practicality
Right.
that we need
Yes.
in the body of Christ.
Exactly.
Yes.
Everywhere. We need that practicality.
Yes,
you
yes,
know.
yes.
Wow, that's good stuff.
Yes.
That is really
Thank
good
you.
stuff. Amen.
We have a program called a church assistant program. And it's like an EAP, but it's an EAP for churches. The first church that signed on with us was
Now,
Pentecostal
EAP stands for.
Employee Assistance Program.
Okay.
And so this is a church assistance program that we partner with churches and we provide counseling to their members. Bishop Ellis and Dr. Ellis was the first ones that partnered with us several years in doing this.
Wow.
And so they realized that their parishioners needed both, just like what we're talking about.
Right.
And so when they do once Bishop and Pastor have done what they needed to do or doing what they need to do, then they say, go over here and call more counseling. And actually the church pays for it for their members.
Right.
To come to us and get the counsel. So there's no barrier, so that they get the help that they need, because they realize that the two coexist and that you've got to be able to treat both. And we wish that more churches would do that. Do it,
That's
and,
really
and even if
awesome.
you send them to us within your insurance, but send them somewhere
Right.
so that they get the help.
Because
that
the
they
brain
need.
is
keep
an
it
organ
balanced.
of the
Right.
body, and I think
Exactly.
people seem to forget that.
It
You
is.
know, it is an organ.
It is
like
an
any
organ.
other organ. It needs help, nourishment,
Right.
and all that.
like
Yeah,
like
deep-
everything
What's
else.
the thing? Deprived.
Choker.
Yes,
whatever his name.
he was. I was watching him yesterday on talking about the brain and the body and the health and the things that you need to do. And he spoke a lot about inflammation
Yeah.
in the brain, you know, and how important it is to watch the things that you eat that
Yes.
causes inflammation, because that also goes hand in hand with Alzheimer's.
Yes.
You know, the inflammation when they open up the brain. You know, so it's really a life learning lesson. You know, and I've learned so much just sitting here listening to you speak about all of this and the heroin, and because I'm not really familiar with a lot of this. So if they were to constantly keep getting these shots and they're on for 18 months, what is the option of the person relapsing again?
So right now we are still doing research on that because it's a fairly newer program. It'll be 2 years soon. And so we are researching those and we are following those that are coming off of it. And we are seeing some success, which is good.
Okay.
The research supports that if you have someone on it for at least 2 years, with that, we also give them behavioral therapy. And that is the pieces where we help them to restructure their life. Because you think about it, if you've been on drugs for 20 years,
Yes.
and then we send you to treatment for 90 days, what's going to happen? More than likely, when you get back out there, you still have those same behaviors
Right.
Right.
that you had before you went to treatment. So we say, give us 2 years, even if we need 3 years, to have you on the medication and have you engaged in treatment. Because as long as you're on the medication, you're still receiving counseling. So and while we have them, we're teaching new behaviors. We are doing some of that cognitive restructuring that needs to take place in the brain, because many people started using as teens.
Right.
And as we know, when you're a teenager, the brain is not fully developed.
Right.
Their frontal lobe hasn't fully developed. Their decision making has not fully developed. And then when you start using on top of that, then you delay it even more. So we may get you at 27, but you're really 12 by the time we get you.
Wow.
Because you started using so young. And so the basics that we have to teach you. I had a client recently, he was so funny. He kept, talking about his probation officer and him having to show up to, and that was his life and his whole family. And we have to teach them that this is not the way life is supposed to be.
That's not the norm.
This is not the normal. You're not supposed to have to go to a probation officer. You're not supposed to have to come and give somebody your urine 2 or 3 times a week. That's not the way it's supposed to be. The way it's supposed to be is that you're supposed to have a job, be able to take care of yourself and your family, have the freedom to do what you want to do, not not worry about if the police is at the corner, if they stop me, that I may get arrested.
Right.
And so we have to restructure even the choices that they make with the people that they're around.
Right.
Okay, so you can't do those things. You can't have these type of people in your life anymore. And what we see now is generations of using.
Right.
We don't just see one person in the family. We'll see the grandmother, the mother, and the child.
Cousins,
Because
nieces,
everybody's
nephews.
using together.
Everybody's
That's just the
using.
norm.
That is the norm. And so we'll have to help them to come out of that norm and establish a new norm. And we tell them we're established, and then they go through grief with that.
Right.
Because imagine, the majority of your family you can't even be around anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're still in that lifestyle. So if we don't keep them in treatment that long, then I say that the family will sabotage it.
Yes.
Because they'll get out of treatment, they'll get themselves sober, go on back home, and the family waiting.
Yeah.
They waiting for the
Just
opportunity.
one time.
Just one time. They waiting to pass it to them.
Yes.
They waiting for the party. They
And then
waiting
now
for
they're
something.
back hooked
Right.
And now
again.
they're back.
Because
And-
I need you to go get these drugs. You got to hook up over here,
Yep.
and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff.
So this heroin stuff, if they use it one time, then you become addicted.
Possibly, you
Yeah.
could. You could.
The fentanyl.
Yeah. It is a possibility. What we usually see is after about 2 or 3 times. But I do have clients that have said after one time, I was hitting the ground running. That I wanted it to feel good, because the other piece with heroin is it's physically addictive, so there's physical withdrawal when you come off of it. So one of the reasons why people continue to use is to avoid the withdrawal. So that it doesn't continue. And the withdrawal is very painful.
Hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very
very.
inhumane. They won't die from it, but it's very uncomfortable. It starts out looking like a common cold, and then it goes into full body aches and pains, and they could have delusions and
Convulsions.
convulsions, just all of that. So it does progress. So many times they don't want to go into withdrawal. And that's the great thing about the medication-assisted treatment. Now, there are other forms of medication-assisted treatment besides naltrexone, the Vivitrol. There's also Suboxone, buprenorphine, which right now comes in the pill form. And that one can be a daily pill that someone receives. And then, of course, most of us know about methadone. And methadone is the one that's been around the
longest.
longest. It's old. Ever since World War II, it's been around. The federal government actually regulates and monitors the methadone clinics. So
Okay.
those are the 3 forms of medication-assisted treatment. We chose to use naltrexone Vivitrol because we get the injection in them for 30 days, and it's there. If they cannot override it, which means they cannot get high while they're on it.
Methadone, there's ways.
Yeah,
Now, if they
but,
get
but
high
not
on
with
it,
Vivitrol.
will they
No,
die or something?
No.
Open the window.
no. Well, they could overdose.
They could
overdose.
overdose.
They could
Okay.
overdose on it. Yes.
Let me ask you a
Yeah.
question.
Wow.
How do we pay for these services?
Great question.
How do we? Will my insurance take
Yeah.
it? Would Medicaid,
Yeah.
Medicare?
Yes.
I mean, how does this work?
We are blessed in Ohio. We have Medicaid expansion, which does pay for the majority of this.
Wow.
And right now, because we do have an opioid epidemic, our federal government has really funded a lot of dollars for this epidemic. So there are lots of grants out there. There are many agencies like ourselves that have grant funding. We don't turn anyone away.
Thank
If
you.
you come to us and you need help, we are going to see you. And most agencies are that way now because we do have the capacity. If you come to us, if you don't have Medicaid, we can sign you up for Medicaid. We have case managers that can sign you up for Medicaid and get you services. They can help you to get food stamps, child care, all of
Wow.
those services that you need as well. So we have to do the full wraparound services for that.
And so there's really no excuse.
For not getting
not
the
getting
help.
help.
No, it's not like in the 80s where it was primarily insurance through the employers.
Right.
Even though there are some, it's primarily Medicaid now that we're seeing. It's not the private insurances. Even though many of the private insurances pay for it as well,
Okay.
but we have very little pushbacks from the insurance companies right now with paying for this.
That's
and
great.
we're working to keep it that way in Ohio. There are some things coming up in Ohio that can threaten that, but we're advocating for those things not to happen.
Now, how about the guy or the gal that works for a corporate company
Yeah.
like a AT&T or something like that has a problem? They come to you. What's the confidentiality of this? Do you say, well, we got to tell your employer, or we got to bill your insurance, and
Yeah.
I mean, what happens with all that?
So if they have private insurance, if they choose, we do bill their private insurance.
Okay.
It is all confidential. We cannot. We are.
That's a HIPAA.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a HIPAA rule. We cannot. Now, I'll tell you what does happen though. Sometimes the employees go back and they tell their employers because they begin to get things like deductibles and co-pays, and so they end up and they'll go back and tell on themselves. But if you have private insurance, most of the private insurance companies will pay for it, but sometimes those individuals do end up with co-pays and deductibles, where the Medicaid clients will not.
Now, because I guess what I'm also getting at is, can I get fired if I have this addiction and I come to you for help?
So
It depends on
I
the
guess-
company.
it depends.
Yeah, there's a yes and a no to that
It
one.
depends
Yes.
on your company's drug-free safety policy.
Right.
Each company has a policy.
Okay.
Most companies will not fire you because you have a problem. If you come forward on your own,
Right.
they will not
Okay.
fire you. They will have an EAP and they will send you to get help.
Okay.
Now, if you get caught and on a random urine screen or reasonable
post-accident.
suspicion, or post-accident, then you can get terminated. Most
Right.
companies have a policy that says if you come forward on your own, we will assist you with getting help. That's why companies do the random screening, because most people don't come on their own, and it jeopardizes safety of the company.
Right.
But yeah, so no, if someone comes in on their own, they will not terminate them. They will help them to get the help that they need. Now, there are some positions that are considered safety sensitive positions, like the truck drivers, the airline pilots,
Right.
those people that have CDLs that fall under DOT or some of the other federal government rules, where there are different rules in order to get them back to work if they are using drugs or alcohol.
Very
Yes.
good. Very good.
Wow. This is just
Been very informative. Very,
Yes.
very informative because to be honest with you, I have several in our family. We have mental, people with mental illnesses, and I have said things that were inappropriate to them. Like, well, just get on with it. Pull up your bootstraps and get over it.
Man
you
up.
know, and been very insensitive, maybe because I felt I put up with it enough. I gave you time. I ran time. Now it's time for you to get your act together.
Right.
And so this has been a very informative. Realize it's a dual thing, and it's both. And to be honest with you, my one sister said, "Hey, you're not recognizing that I have a situation. I have an illness.
Yes.
You're just treating this like this is something I can just think over and get over."
So-
And it isn't. So I'd like to apologize to her, my baby sister. And so this has been very informative.
so you need to know when you're being an enabler
Uh-huh.
Oh.
and when you
Yeah.
need
That's
to
a-
walk
Walk
away.
away.
That is very good. So let me say this to go
man.
back to you, and thank you for saying that and being transparent, because you're right. She did not wake up one day and say, I want to have a problem.
Right.
Yeah, she didn't ask for it. It is a disease. And it takes work. It is a progressive
She's
disease.
been doing very good.
Yeah, it takes work.
Okay.
Now, as far as the enabling, you are right. There are some people and loved ones that will enable. I tell people, you'll know when you're enabling, because if you are stopping them from receiving their consequences, then you're enabling. So what does that look like? If you are paying for things for them that maybe you shouldn't pay for them, if you are not allowing them to deal with maybe the legal issues that they need to deal with, or even losing their job. Right? People say, well, if they lose their job, no, that could be a great bottom for them,
Right.
to lose their job. I remember one wife said to me, I decided I wasn't going to wake him up for work anymore after him being hungover. He was going to deal with being late every day. And you know what? He dealt with being late every day, and he lost his job. And that was the best intervention that ever happened. As long as she was waking him up every day, making his coffee, he was grouchy with her going off, then he was fine. That was enabling. And she stepped back and said, no, I'm going to let him feel it. And so we now know that it's okay to let them hit a bottom. Because when they hit that bottom, then that's their opportunity to make a decision if I'm going to come up. Because when we enable, we can hit our own bottoms.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
we
definitely.
begin to have consequences as a
Right,
result of it.
right,
We
right.
begin to have depression and anxiety and frustration and
Right.
financial issues and so forth. So it's important that we don't do that we allow them to hit the bottom that they need to hit.
Excellent.
So, especially when you're dealing with drugs right now, the fact that drug court exists, and if they go through the process of drug court, their record can be expunged. So there are times when sometimes the legal system can help. They might need to go to jail for a couple days. They might need to have a probation officer for a while. But after 2 or 3 years, all of that can be gone, as opposed to you thinking you're helping by helping them avoid these consequences and everything is okay for them. You're stressed out, but they're not dealing with anything, and they just keep doing what they're doing because
Right.
for them, it's no big deal anymore.
And let me add to that. I just want to really give kudos to the Cleveland Drug Court. Judge Lauren Moore is
Yes.
awesome. And she oversees that court, and she does an excellent job with her staff, Latoya Eason, who is her coordinator. And they just do a great job with ensuring that people are able to get the help they need and not go to jail. I mean, I've seen clients tell her, I want to go to jail, I don't want to do this. And she told them, nope, you're going to do this. Because it's really harder
Right.
to do this than it is to go to jail.
Right.
We think, oh, it's going to be tough if they go to jail. No, they're not afraid to go to jail.
For some of them,
Anymore.
that's just their lifestyle. It's no
That's
big
their
deal.
vacation,
Yeah.
a rest
Right.
spot.
And then
They
when
gotta
they're in
get
jail,
out.
they can still get the
Right,
drugs.
exactly.
Yeah.
But to have to show up for your probation officer and go to court once a week and see the judge and go to treatment and get a job, that is a lot of work.
That is
And
a
so
lot of
I
work.
just want to give kudos to the Cleveland Drug Court for really, they are about to celebrate their 20-year anniversary.
Wow,
And we are really
awesome.
proud of all the people that they've graduated and everything that they've done.
Awesome.
That
So
is really
yes,
awesome.
yes, that is awesome.
Well, you know, we're about to wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can go another hour with this. This is just
See,
so
30 minutes, and you got 30 minutes.
Right,
You
right.
got so much to say.
Right,
So much
right.
to teach us about.
And I
Right.
tell you, doctor, you need to get this book.
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
yes,
we
yes.
need to have this book,
Yes.
and we need to get more of this out here. Give our audience a phone number,
Yes.
the website.
Yes, yes.
Again, please, if you have someone in your family that is going through these type of
Or you.
struggles, or you need it. I mean, we all need to be able to talk, you know, because we all have a story to tell. Please contact.
Yes, you can reach us at www.morecounseling.com, or you can call us at 216-404-1900. We are there to help. We have 7 locations located throughout Northeast Ohio in order to provide the services for you. Please feel free to go on our website. It's very interactive, and there's lots of information on there for you.
Excellent.
And let me add this. When we started the company almost 20 years ago, we wanted to make sure that nobody who wanted the help, and that means really wanting the help, could not get it because of finances. So it's never about money. If you really want the help, we will take care of you. We will find a way, or we'll pay it for it from ourselves. But we will get you the help as long as you want it. Now, that doesn't mean play games with us.
Right.
Doesn't mean show up today and come see one counselor and then go report back to somebody and say, "Oh, I did this." And
Right.
no,
We
if you want the help,
want.
we will take care of you.
Yes, we
Seriously
So-
committed and wanted.
will.
That's
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Bravo.
So don't worry about the money.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome, awesome.
And just one last question. I know the word mediation service
Oh, yes, yes.
is in your title. What
Yes.
is mediation service?
So that's a great question. That's our other service line I didn't talk about. So mediation is conflict resolution. We do mediation for corporations as well as individuals, where they can come to us and solve their disputes in lieu of litigation. And so we have certified mediators as well as myself, and we have about 15 other mediators on staff, where let's say there is a custody battle, or there may be in organizations, we do it with owners who may want to dissolve their business and they want to sit down and not have to go through the courts. They want to make the decision themselves. We do it that way. There may be challenges within a department, within a corporation. We'll do it for them. It may be neighbor to neighbor.
Right.
We do it with neighbors who may be having some dispute. But it's a way for people to resolve their disputes on their own and not have to clog up our court system.
Yeah, because
Wow.
I see in some
Wow,
contracts.
wow. You guys are.
They are the power
Busy.
team here, okay?
Bomb.com.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay, yes,
Absolutely.
indeed.
Yeah, because I see now in a lot of contracts, it talks about mediation
Yes,
versus going to court.
Oh yeah.
Versus the
Court is expensive.
Court
Yeah.
is,
Court is expensive.
We have a whole division that just does mediations, and they stay busy. Yes.
Wow, excellent, excellent, excellent.
Great service.
Well,
Well, we're gonna
we learned a lot. We got some understanding. I hope this show, going forward for people who have watched it, understand that mental illness is an illness, no different from diabetes, cancer, or anything that affects the body, and that you have to treat both spirit and body.
yes, spirit and body, they go together.
All
So
right.
that is what's going on with Lady D,
And Sir John.
and we're the home of the what?
25-cent advertisement.
All right, stay
25
tuned.
cents.
We'll be back next Sunday, same time, same place.